Okay, I'm over here at tradingview.com and we're going to look at some India stocks today as far as the demonstration here, as far as what that might look like. I have many students from India. Hello to my friends in Delhi or Mumbai or Chennai or wherever you might be in the great country of India. And you can trade exchange traded funds as well, where you've got a whole basket of, let's say, stocks in one fund versus, let's say, trading one individual stock. So we're going to look at a couple different ways to trade here in India. And one good way is to trade the Nifty 50. And you can see here's India Trust India 50 ETF. That's an exchange traded fund on the NASDAQ, and it's also listed here over there as well. I'm in the US, so I'm going to choose that. Again, your country might be different as far as which funds are available to you. But the idea is the Nifty 50 is basically the largest 50 stocks by market cap in India. So it's a great way to trade, more established, larger companies in India. If you're at the regular home page without an account yet, you want to look for something that says full featured chart. If you're trying to follow along or want to use this, or use your own trading platform, whichever one is fine, you'll want to look for something that says full featured chart. So I'm just going to click on full featured chart, and this is the Nifty 50. All right, so I had some from a previous thing, I had some stuff on there. So let me just take this off real quick. Okay, so you can see we're open on this trading day here. And this is the current trading day, and this is an actual live day. And here is some of the back days for source of trend. We are trading on a day here. We could change this. Let's say you prefer to trade on weeks, or maybe you want to trade more in hours. You can do that, and you can see how that changes my view here. So, but let's say we're trading on days, just to keep it simple, because that makes it easier to learn too from the whole open and close thing, because that's our candles are going to be from a trading point of view. So if we look at this here, and we say, okay, what's going on here? What is going on here? Let's blow this up a little bit too. All right. So if we look at it, you can see we've had some kind of a downward trend. We've had a couple things going on. First off, when we look at currently, we're definitely in a downtrend, right? So if we were to draw our trend lines like around here, so let's say here, and you can see we're in this definite downtrend. Well, I wouldn't say definite downtrend because we only really had one touch of it. If I moved a little closer, maybe I might have a second touch. In fact, a second touch might more establish that, or certainly a third touch, that downtrend, which is a good way to look at that, because what do we have going on here? All of a sudden, we have a spike in the Nifty 50, right? So we have a spike in the Nifty 50, and there's a gap up, right? So take a look at the lessons around gap and gap up. So we have a gap up opportunity. So we might want to be watching here as far as what's going on with that gap up. What could be happening, don't know yet, but what could be happening is we might be having had a little bit of a pullback, and now we're going back above. So if we look at, let's say, a trend line from, let's say, back here, and you see, well, actually, if we look back here, back in time, we had a big gap down. Let's go back a little bit. So we had this long run up. So we have a long trends here. Let's say that's an outlier. Let's just put him out of there for a second. Long trend up. And then we have a big gap down, right? So we have a big gap down, and now if we look more current time on the Nifty 50, we could say, okay, we have a big, a more of an established trend here from this. We had this trend here, and then what happened? We had a gap down with a long wick at top. So this is showing that we went below the trend. We broke the trend, or the trend was broken, and we had buyers trying to push it back up above that trend, but the seller said, no, we're going to close. Not only are we going to start the day down, we're going to close down as well, too. That's why it's a red candle. A little bit more doji, like this real narrow body. It's not a true full doji, as opposed to like this one right here. But we're having, they couldn't get it up there. And they did raise it. I mean, they did open the day higher here on this next day, but then it closed lower. So really fighting to try to get back above that trend line didn't work. So this trend has definitely been broken. This particular one we're looking at here. So that wouldn't be valid. I mean, it's just not happening, right? Now, what could be happening is we're starting maybe either a new trend. We've got one touch. Or we might be having a little bit of a temporary pullback here. But it's a little deep for a pullback. A pullback might be more like in this area here. And then if this was to start to come back around and go back up, that might be a little bit of a pullback. But this is, well, we look here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're like 10 days below that trend line. So that's very much where, if anything, we're either looking at a downtrend or we're waiting to see what's going to happen here to see if this picks up on this gap up, if this is going to keep going here. So we might let our trend is our friend, develop a little bit here. Let's put a couple other things on this chart too, just to see, see what we can see, so to speak. So let's look at something like, let's see, market sentiment. Like, let's look at Bollinger Bands. What might be going on here in terms of, let's say, maybe a Bollinger Band? Again, if you haven't seen those lessons, go back and take a look at the lessons. All right, so if we look at our Bollinger Bands, what are we seeing here? We're seeing a definite back in time a little bit, a definite long walk up the band. Look at that, that's nice, that's a beautiful thing. Look at that long walk up the band. Then it started to drift to the middle, right? It got a little indecisive. Now we're headed down. We're headed down below the middle there of the Bollinger Bands. And now we're actually touching the bottom band. When the bands are touched, as a reminder, that means this might be a continuation pattern. So if I looked at this, I would say, if just on this day, that might be, oh, there's a continuation pattern possibly, but it really hasn't developed yet. And look what happened. The actual next day, this live trading day, it actually, jumped back up, right? It had a gap up to the middle here. So right now, we're in a real period of indecisiveness, right? We don't know if we truly have a downtrend, though it might look like that. We had a touch of a bottom Bollinger Band, which might be a downtrend. We're in the middle here, but it's not a big long wick or anything, so there's a little bit of indecisiveness. More indecisive in the middle than if you're at either end. And it might be looking to see if this will develop and maybe start going up and maybe touch this upper band. We also might be looking at a squeeze here. See how wide this is between like these points here? But now we're getting narrower, and this might even get narrower still. We'll see what the future holds for us here. But you can see we might be actually approaching a squeeze. If we looked at, let's say, momentum like RSI, that can kind of tell us stuff too. RSI was always a nice little indicator. RSI, relative strength index. If we look at that below, remember from our RSI, if you are at above 70%, then it's a sell signal, and if you're below 30%, that's a strong buy signal. So you can see in the past here, there was a lot of sell signals. Now this was a strong uptrend, and strong uptrends can last. They can last above 70. Just because it touches above 70 does not mean it's going to end like they sell. Strong uptrends or downtrends can overcome that. But then it came off that and went more down towards the middle, and now we're coming back up a little bit. But we're still in the middle here. See where we're still in this 50 range here. So we might be watching that as far as there's a lot of indecisiveness going on. So what would I take from all of this? I would say Nifty 50, nice gap up, worth a watch. We'll see what happens, and be watching for something to develop, a trend, a chart pattern, something to develop that might give us a little bit more indication something might be going on. Let's leave these lines on here, and let's go ahead and let's go take one of the components of the Nifty 50 and see what that looks like. If you've ever been in Delhi, and I've been in Delhi, and I've been in Mumbai and Chennai, I've done some speaking engagements, you're going to see Tata, all over the place, Tata Motors, Tata automobiles. So, and you can see here, okay, this is what this is. And you can see how Tata's doing. Now, a lot of times they'll follow along with the index. But you can see with Tata here, look at how long, look at this squeeze here they had. They had this real squeeze here, a lot of indecisiveness, but then it started to go up here to the band. And very similar to Nifty 50, had a nice long walk up the Bollinger Band, right? But now it has come off, right? So it's had a little bit of a come off. You could say if we look at this a little closer, we could say more of a downtrend might have formed because we had two touches, two touches. But, again, the more touches, the more confirmation you have. And here we say, oh, two touches, that's a downtrend. I'm going to buy into that. And then the next day it starts to really kind of go above that line, above that trend line. So we might have some indecisiveness there. And when we do, from a Bollinger Band standpoint, because we've definitely come well off of our walking up the band. So that's showing a change might be coming here. We had an earnings announcement that happened the day before. In the trading view, if you click on it, it'll show you what was estimated, 4.67, and they had actually a nice earnings surprise, where they did 3.35 as far as that goes, which seems a little odd. I'll tell you that just seems a little odd because it seems below. It should be a negative number, but either way. It looks like they're taking that as a positive sign, and we might be ready to get up into an uptrend. But right now, we've crossed that trend line, so that might be an indicator that we might be on the buy side. Let's Tell let's put a moving average on this and see what that might tell us. I mean, it is telling us it might be oversold, or excuse me, overbought, because we're above that 70. So that's a little concerning. Overbought, Bollinger Bands, it's off the Bollinger Band. We're breaking that trend line, so maybe something's happening. Let's look at a moving average real quick. We'll just do another simple moving average here. In fact, let's do a weighted moving average just to weight the more recent time frame here. So here's weighted moving average. Again, whatever you're using might be different. I like to use this one for course stuff because it's free and you can kind of practice with it. Again, time frames will be different. You can see the time frames that we're using here. So this might definitely be back in time depending when you start up with a course. But it doesn't matter. The concepts are going to be the same there. So if we look at our moving average, it's hard to see because the colors are the same. And at least with these guys, TradingView, you can change that style. So let's say we're going to change this to more of an orange is nice. And we're going to change this to be a thicker line so that really stands out. And this is right now on a yep, as a 9-day. So let's say we change that to something a little longer. Let's say it's a 20-day. You could use 9. Let's say 10. Let's do a 10-day moving average. Could use. I mean, not a big difference between 9 and 10. And you can see that we crossed this came through and it crossed this moving average here. Definite sell signal, right? We've got into a downward trend. If we're looking at this, crossed the moving average line, definite sell signal. We had some nice earnings, it looks like. So though it went up a little bit, it's closed the day down, and right now we're trading up a little bit. So we're right on that moving average line, at least for the 20-day. If we change that to, so we're not a true buy signal yet. We're close though, right? This is where you got to kind of let it develop, right? Because we don't have a true uptrend yet. We haven't crossed the line as far as breaking this downtrend. Our RSI is saying, hey, this might be overbought. So there's a lot of concern in there, but we might be able to break through that moving average if that's our primary indicator and say, okay, well, that might be more of a buy signal. Now, this is a 10-day moving average. Let's say we change that to 20-day and see what that changed. So we'll watch that orange line. You see how the orange line changed. It showed on a 20-day moving average how this can change. It didn't cross it yet. So it's depending again how you use your moving averages. A weighting moving average is going to weight the most recent time period heavier, and a shorter time frame is going to weight by nature is going to have a more weighting than the previous time frame. So when we're looking at 10 days, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're looking right about here. As far as a 10-day, a 20-day, we're going to go back further in time. So you can see, I would look at this and say, watch it closely. There's some indecisiveness there. There might be an opportunity, but it could go either way right now. It could go either way. Let's look at one more for fun. Let's look at Infosys. All right. So Infosys is a lot of you might work for Infosys as far as a company, and you can see the same thing. The nice thing here, where it leaves my previous indicators up, so it's easy to compare. So we were comparing that to Tata. You can see they had a little bit of touch, but they've been in a little bit of a middle, more of a squeezy type look here for a while now. Where this is the current 20-day moving average. So you see it's below the 20-day moving average. Definitely, let's change that to 10 again and see how our line looks there. All right, so you can see it's there, but looks like we're definitely in a downtrend, right? You can see we've got some downtrendy type stuff going on here. Let's say if we connected here to here. Okay, so we got a downtrend, and we're below that downtrend. But our RSI, see how it's different than Tata? How it's now around 45 here, 46. So it's still in the indecisive range, where if that went down closer to 30 or past 30, that would be a better indicator for us. But here's a situation we might say, okay, we're in a downtrend. We got like 2, you could say 3 touches, definite downtrend. This is good as far as RSI that it might turn around, so be aware of that. But we're definitely below our moving average line. So we might want to monitor this too and see if our RSI goes down to more of a buy signal, but also maybe if we're trading off the moving average, we might trade off that. And we did have a negative touch of the Bollinger Band. It came out, well, it's still pretty close actually. So the following day here, whatever is in store for us the next day, this might continue to walk that band, and that would walk the band down, especially if we get out of this squeeze and it starts going more down. Then this would be a kind of a warning sign on that one with Infosys in terms of a short-term trade. So there you have it. For my friends in India, we have some India stocks here. And oh, by the way, I should say, you can see how this is at 1260.90. This is in rupees, right? Because it's an India It's an India stock, so that would be in rupees. So, but when you actually do your trades and with your broker, then and actually complete the trade, it'll be in the currency that you've set up with your broker. It'll automatically convert that. But if you're looking at it and say, wow, they are at 1260, but then when I go to my broker, it's so much less. Well, it's because that's in rupees, which is kind of cool. Actually, I kind of like that actually. So there you go. Some India stocks as an example of different ways you can trade, some different things you can do.